Welcome back to an episode of the Entry for One podcast. As always, I'm your host, Josue Hernandez. And on this week's episode, we're going to be looking back and talking about From Dusk Till Dawn, directed by Robert Rodriguez. On this week's episode, we're joined by Chandler Treon.
Hey.
And we're back with David Orozco.
Hello, my voice is brought to you by Chandler Treon.
Thank you for the sponsor. From Dusk Till Dawn is directed by Robert Rodriguez, known for his low-budget indie film style. He's known for his films like Desperado, From Dusk Till Dawn, the Spy Kids franchise. I bet you didn't know that one. Once Upon a Time in Mexico, and collaboration in Frank Miller's Sin City. But this movie stars George Clooney, Quentin Tarantino, Harvey Keitel, Juliette Lewis. We'll shout out Scott Fuller, Ernest Liu, Selma Hayek, and Danny Trejo, and Tom Savini. This is my first time ever watching this movie. What about you guys?
This was also my first time watching it.
I've watched it a couple of times. It's been a long time, though. It's been a couple of years.
This movie came out in 1996, so I was definitely not around when that came out. I mean, I was born, but I was 1 year old. The first movie I was introduced with Robert Rodriguez style was either Sin City or the Grindhouse collaboration that he had with other directors.
Mine was Spy Kids.
Yeah, I was about to say that too.
Actually, okay, I'll take that back. Being aware of who the director was, I guess Spy Kids is the earliest
Am I the only one
introduction.
that messes with Spy Kids 3?
He filmed a little bit of Spy Kids here at Texas State. I think I told you that before.
What?
Did he?
Yeah. If you go to the Taylor Murphy, the history building, the fountain in the middle of the building, and there's like a balcony above it. There's a scene where the Spy Kids are like at the top of the balcony talking down to Antonio Banderas, and it's in that building.
That one shot, they said, you know what?
Yeah.
This is the perfect spot.
I'll show y'all. I'll show y'all one day.
BRB, I'm gonna go recreate some history.
The only movie I know that was shot in Texas State was Boyhood, when they're visiting his mother's university class.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I'm surprised to find out Spy Kids is I guess some of it was shot in Texas State. It's the go-to spot, I guess.
It seems like it is. I mean,
So From Dusk Till Dawn is about two fugitive brothers at gunpoint get an ex-minister and his two children to take them across the border to Mexico. They drive into a Mexican biker bar to rendezvous with other crooks. Well, at the bar, a few unusual things happen. There's another description for this movie that easily spoils like the entire plot twist to this movie.
That's why I told you guys not to read anything about this.
I'm glad I didn't, because it was definitely a nice twist to go into.
it really was.
This movie had a $19 million budget, which obviously compared to most things nowadays isn't a whole lot of money. Shot in Texas and a little bit of Mexico as well. It sticks true to what Robert Rodriguez is known for, his kind of style of editing. But anyways, I guess for it being our first viewing, or Chandler's your latest viewing, looking back at it, what do you think, Chandler?
I still love this movie, man. This movie, it was such a nostalgia, because a lot of this film, I'm watching it, and if I watch it with somebody that hasn't watched it before, I'm just staring there and watching their faces just to see how they react to certain things. But it's such a trip to go back and watch this movie again in 2018.
Do you think it would hold up, or?
I think it holds up.
Or do you think it holds up? Yeah.
I think as somebody that really likes practical effects, it holds up. For a casual viewer that maybe doesn't really appreciate practical effects as much as they do special effects, it doesn't. But besides that, I think it's still a good movie.
What about you, David? What was your initial reaction when you finished it?
Yeah, I mean, when it ended, I ended up liking it. The middle half, I was kind of feeling iffy on, just because, I don't know, it seemed kind of like just weird. but like in a like it's just like a weird way. Like I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it without getting into spoilers or more intricate plot details.
Right.
But once the movie ended, I actually liked it a decent amount. Just because like I've never seen a movie like this, and I mean that twist was just crazy.
I agree. I thought this film was a lot of fun. It's not meant to be taken too serious. This movie ends very differently from the way it starts. But if you're a fan of practical effects, you'll definitely enjoy this film. I think it had a solid screenplay, written by Quentin Tarantino himself. I will say it gets a little bit tiring and repetitive towards the end. But all in all, it's a very fun film that's not meant to be taken too serious. Kind of remind me in some parts, actually, without going into, yeah, like you said, it's kind of hard to go, not going into spoilers, but some of the transitions you get in this film remind me of that werewolf scene you showed me, Chandler.
Oh, An American Werewolf in London.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But story wise, I mean, the first act's pretty cool. I thought the acting was pretty solid by Quentin Tarantino and George Clooney. Kind of getting them. They're two fugitives who have robbed a bank and now are on the runaway trying to get to Mexico.
Right,
And
they're
I
brothers.
I thought the first act was pretty solid.
It's funny watching this movie now because I haven't seen George in anything in forever. At least, like, I just haven't watched the George Clooney movie, and his performance is so good.
Yeah, George Clooney really like held it down in this movie.
Yeah,
Like
he
it made me get some newfound appreciation for him.
yeah his kind of charismatic tirades that he goes on when he's talking to hostages and things like that are really good. The
Yeah.
scene at the beginning where he's holding that girl hostage by like the back of her head is a really funny scene because he apparently had to do like 11 or 12 takes, and every time he did it he'd get more and more frustrated, like visibly. And you can watch a YouTube compilation of it. He's holding this girl by the head, and every time he gets frustrated, she gets more and more nervous about it. She's visibly terrified.
I mean, it's Quentin Tarantino. At least he's not grabbing feet.
Not at first.
Not at
no.
first,
Not
yeah.
at
But I was
first.
saying, yeah, I mean, the acting was pretty solid, specifically in the first act, and then once they start headed towards Mexico, and then once they get into the biker club, the overall reveal was pretty cool, and then to me it kind of starts getting kind of tiring. It's like, you know, it lasts for so long, the reveal and the kind of thing they're going against. But the initial reaction is like, I didn't expect it, and I'm glad I didn't read that description for the movie. But yeah, I mean, my most favorite thing is the practical effects, the acting in the beginning, and then the reveal is pretty cool for this film. I guess it might be in the title of the film, but you would have to really kind of like look into it to know
You'd have
what
to
the
know.
reveal is going to be. But it's a fun movie at the end of the day. It's like you said, it's what Robert Rodriguez is known for. Very small budget, primarily action filmmaking. But yeah, I enjoyed the movie.
It's really fun to learn about like the behind the scenes of this film. There's a lot of scenes where they had to do it in one take. Like the first scene where they're walking out of the gas station, they had to do that all in one take because otherwise they would have lost a shit ton of money.
Oh yeah, that was a pretty good scene.
That whole opening scene is after watching the whole film, you kind of forget about it. Like if you go back and think about what you just watched, you're like, what the fuck? Like it's so nutty.
I forgot how tense that first situation was.
Yeah.
Texas Ranger, man.
But I mean, it being an old movie or being an older movie, I'm sure maybe most people have seen it. If you haven't seen it, I'd recommend it. But we'll just get right into spoilers then.
Thank God.
I guess we'll start with the first scene, or the first scene that we get, which is them in the actual gas station, hiding away while we first get this sheriff talking to the gas station clerk. And once he goes to the restroom, we finally get the reveal of George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino having the bank clerk as hostage. And yeah, the whole interaction is pretty funny between them and Quentin Tarantino and George Clooney's characters. Specifically that scene where he's like, what did they say? He's hinting at them. He was hinting at the sheriff or
Oh
leading
yeah, he was
him,
like
Yeah.
mouthing the words or something.
mouthing.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah, I like how his brother was just a straight up liar. Like he
Yeah.
just straight up hallucinated stuff.
That's the interesting thing about this movie is like if you're paying attention to the dialogue and like the interactions that the brothers have with each other, there's actually a really interesting story there where Quentin Tarantino's character is like a psychopath, and it's kind of hinted that George Clooney's character was the one that was like the professional thief, and his brother kind of just got in on it once he broke him out.
No, yeah, that's definitely what I like got from that. And I
Yeah.
really like that scene where George Clooney sees what his brother did and like it cuts like to the scene of the crime really quickly and then back to his
Yeah.
reaction. I thought it was so like cool.
That was really good disjunctive editing, and I think
Mhm.
Robert Rodriguez like edited this on his own, if I remember
yeah,
right.
that's what it says. He did edit this movie.
Yeah, there's a lot about this film that's just really well done, especially cinematography and story wise. Like there's little interesting things. Like if you notice, Marin, he had 3 different characters, and each one of the characters were supposed to be like markers for like sections of their journey. Like he was the border patrol officer, then he was the door guy at the bar, and then he ended up being the guy who's trying to meet it the whole journey at the end, the drug dealer or whatever.
Damn, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. Yeah, those were all Cheech Marin.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess it just looks like the same to me.
Uh-huh. But it's funny because like I would have watched a story about just the first half of the movie. Like I wanted to see the interactions between the two brothers and like George Clooney trying to rein in his psychopath brother Richard.
Yeah,
that
I
just
like
gets
their-
started all off the rails.
They had a pretty cool dynamic, I think. I like that also that intro segment to their characters when it's like the newsreel. That just felt so like almost realistic in a way, like visceral. Like
It was
really
so-
made them seem like scumbags.
Yeah, it was very Robert Rodriguez, the way that he did the news report, because the news lady's super exaggerated and she's like, the men on the scene. She's really into her job, and then they even put like a little graphic of like their kill count, and it's so insensitive because it's like 4 cops, 5 rangers, and then it ticks up to like 5 after it had been 3.
Yeah.
Like it's super animated for no
Yeah.
reason.
Like it
Yeah,
kind
they
of
have,
like
like, a death
highlights
count.
the sensational of newscasts.
Right. It's
Like she's proud to have it on the screen.
Yeah, like she was
Right,
like
exactly.
smiling. It's like, do you think it's personal at this point?
Like new high score or something.
It's like, yeah, it's personal. Like,
It's
But
funny.
yeah, that whole clerk scene, where the guy's like, I ought to earn an Oscar or something for how well
Yeah.
I'm not
Oh,
leaving
yeah.
the.
I was like, yeah, he should have. Honestly, I would not have known that in the store if like I hadn't already watched the movie.
The only thing I find weird about that scene, looking back at it, is that George Clooney's character is very much against killing people. But he's the one at the very beginning that wants to turn the building on fire and catch the clerk on fire as well. So it's like, I guess that one
Well,
scene.
Well, he does say later in the hotel, he's like, I only kill people when it's necessary. I don't just kill whoever I want. And at that point, the clerk has a gun, and he's shot his brother. And he's trying
Yeah,
to
I
kill
mean,
them.
he's gonna pick his brother over the clerk.
Yeah, I love that scene. The building exploding is great because they built that store specifically for that scene. And
Just
as
to
they're
blow it
walking
up.
to the car, as they're walking to the car and like the pieces of the store are flying by, they're actually getting hit by debris. If they had messed up that scene at all, that would have been the one take, and they couldn't have done it again. I don't know how they
for
delivered
sure.
those lines.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, I guess bigger budgeted movies have more room to work with that, but something like this, yeah, you definitely have to do it on one go, without wasting all your money that you just spent building that.
George Clooney just trips. Like a debris falls in front of his foot.
I'm wondering if any of this was improv, because the chemistry between the two characters was really well done. it was kind of cool to see George Clooney's character struggle with how Quentin Tarantino's character acts and how he has like he's also a ex sex offender in this film as well. So it's kind of interesting to see that dynamic between the two
Well,
characters.
not
Although
X.
both,
He rapes
I mean,
the bank teller.
yeah,
He's still a fucking sex offender.
Yeah, they show scenes where like he's delusional, and the girl, the daughter, I forget her name, Kate. Yeah, Kate. He's like standing behind her, putting a gun at her, and she, in his mind, turns around and is like, "Oh, will you eat my pussy for me?" And he actually thinks that happened.
yeah, and then he asks her while they're in the RV, "Did you really mean that?" And he's like, "What?
Did you mean what you said back
Did you
there?
mean that?"
God, yeah, like I
it's
hated
creepy.
seeing him interact with anybody. Like, it was just like, get that man away from her. Like,
Yeah.
he's a creep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that whole dynamic between him and any of the was like made me so uncomfortable. Like when he was like when they got to the border and he said go into the bathroom with her. I was like, please do not leave him.
Yes,
alone.
yeah. When George Clooney went in there, I was like, oh, thank God. Like someone needs to keep him in check.
Yeah, and then that's after we get George Clooney's character that comes back and he finds out that he murdered the bank clerk. You get that sequence you were talking about, David, where it's kind of like quickly cutting to the crime scene,
Masterful.
with her laying bloody with the pillow over her head.
Yeah.
Which
Did you
I thought was pretty cool.
Did you guys notice when he told her to kick her shoes off that he was staring at her feet?
Oh my God, no!
Like,
but I
he
believe
wanted
you.
to make the foot fetish his character's thing, but it was totally just Tarantino's thing.
Yeah, dude. Like the whole time, I was like, Quentin Tarantino's having the time of his life. Like,
I mean, he wrote the fucking screenplay. Like he wrote, like, pours alcohol down her leg off of her foot into his mouth.
yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Because like he
I
wrote
thought that exactly.
Yeah, and it wasn't until like years after this that it came out that he had a foot thing.
Ew. God.
Yeah, when I saw that scene, I was
Jesus.
like, Quentin really wrote his character really nicely in this story.
Yeah, like when I saw that, I was like,
Yeah.
wow, Quentin's making his dreams come true through this screenplay. Like, I low-key get the feeling that he goes back and masturbates to this movie.
He's such an interesting guy. Like he's a weirdo, but like he's like on the line of morality sometimes. Like he'll write in scenes where Salma Hayek sticks her feet in his mouth, but he won't work with Weinstein's company anymore. Like like he's been working with Harvey Weinstein's production company since he started making film, but as soon as the allegations came out, he cut ties.
Mm.
Yeah,
I
well,
don't know.
now
Great.
the Weinstein company is no longer, so it
Yeah.
will never happen. But yeah, when I saw that scene with Selma Hayek, I was like, I could just imagine Quentin Tarantino putting pen to paper and thinking to himself like, "Oh yes, this is gonna be nice."
I remember watching this movie when I was like 15, and after like the scene of the bar, I was like, every woman in this movie that was like it working in the bar showed their titties but Salma Hayek. And like as a 15, oh man, that was so funny.
She had the most important pair, a pair of feet.
Those feet, it was
That's the key to all this.
fucking monster.
Um,
Seeing young Danny Trejo was really fun though.
That was pretty fun. Like, I almost didn't even recognize him. I looked it up while I was watching just to confirm that that was a young Danny Trejo.
Yeah, he's got that signature horrible tattoo on his chest.
Yeah, like I was so used to seeing him as like this just like wooden looking face.
He's in the sequel too, and in the TV show.
There's a sequel?
There's 2 sequels. Don't watch them. They're really
Oh
bad.
my God.
They both came out in 1999, and they're terrible.
I believe you.
They're really. They're not directed by Rodriguez. They're
were they
produced.
produced? Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
wondering.
Yeah.
Because I know he produced the TV show that's on Netflix right now.
Yeah, I've heard the show is really good. I still need to take a look at it though.
Does it go along with the plot for this movie, or is it kind of
I
like
think
the
it's
Fargo
similar.
TV show?
I think it's similar, but I don't think it's not the exact same thing as the movie.
Okay, it's kind of like a
Like I
sister
think
story.
Salma Hayek's character, Santanico, is like actually like teams up with them at some point. I haven't watched it, so I don't know.
I read like a quick summary on Wikipedia, and I think it's kind of like how Fargo is, or it's like kind of like in the same universe, but not the same characters.
Cloverfield universe.
I think it's still the Gecko brothers, but it's not the same story.
Hmm.
Mm.
When did it come out? Let's see.
2016, I think.
Hmm.
I'm not positive.
I might have to.
Oh no, I'm sorry, 2014.
Oh, TV show.
I think it's on Netflix.
Yeah, because I was scrolling when I was looking for this movie, and it popped right up next to it. Yeah, it was produced in. Okay, yeah, so he definitely had his production company made this show. So.
So
Ray
what were y'all's
Network.
favorite parts of this movie? I'm curious.
One of my favorites would be I guess the first time we see Salma Hayek transform into the vampire. Because I was trying to think.
Hers is very distinct from everybody else's vampire transformation.
Yeah, she was more like of an elegant looking vampire.
She was more
very
like
clean looking.
Yeah, and she talks about how she's gonna make Seth her slave. So it kind of sounds like it was a very sexual connotation. It seemed like she was like a higher up sort of vampire for some
I feel
reason.
Like maybe she was the queen of that sector or something.
That sector.
That Mayan sector.
I love that line where she's saying that she's gonna make him a slave, and he's like, "No thanks, I've already got a wife."
Oh, I was gonna say, in this movie, there's a lot of like one-liners. Like it just kind of hangs after. It's like,
like
everybody was spouting out Quentin Tarantino-isms, like threatening everybody.
But I mean, I guess oh, you know what? One of my favorite scenes is when the band turns into vampires and one of the guitars is a human being.
Yeah.
Like
a corpse.
Yes, that was also one of my favorite scenes.
And then when they're like, "Let's kill that fucking band," they turn around.
And they're like, "Fuck you" or something like. Oh yeah, they explode.
They just explode.
Like, where'd they go?
I like that they called them out. Like they noticed it was like, "Oh my God, we've just been this whole time." Just kill them.
Oh yeah, the transformation into the guitar is because like there was no time. Like where did he get it?
Like they just had that meat guitar in the bag.
He must have just had it because like he couldn't have just made it.
Like they're going off. They got to go off.
Dude, Frost and Sex Machine were the best additions to this movie. Right?
Oh, so was that the guy's name, Frost?
Yeah, Fred Williamson's character, the big black like Vietnam soldier, and Tom Savini's Sex Machine.
He was like one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, he's giving like this story about Vietnam, and like it's cutting away to Tom like turning into a vampire, and it quiets his story. But I'm like, no, I want to hear his story.
No, yeah, I like before he was even introduced as like a main character, I was just trying to set up the dominoes on the table and like it'd keep on falling down.
That scene where the scene where he kills 4 of the stripper vampires on like each leg of a table is so good.
Like how they explained it is like there's no way you could just do that. Their skin's paper soft.
Yeah. It goes into like way too much detail about like how much experience they've just gained from fighting them the first time. And they seem so worried. They're like, "Oh, we got to get ready for the vampires." But no, Fred Williamson's going to give like a 15 minute long story about his Vietnam escapades, and everyone's just going to stop and listen and not pay attention to anything.
My whole thing was never mind. I think where were we chronologically in this movie?
We're just going all over the place. Honestly, we were just talking about our favorite parts.
Okay, well, in that case, I don't know. I just love that whole character. Like everything that came out of his mouth, he just seems so sure.
I love when Harvey Keitel's character Jacob is behind the bar and he finds a shotgun and he turns it into a cross and he's making them back away and shooting them every once in a while. That's so good.
That was pretty cool. I liked how each like character had their own like shtick. Like Kate had the crossbow, Scott had that holy water for days.
Yeah, the condom balloons full of holy water and the holy water gun. His death is so funny. It's like extra gruesome because he's a kid.
Yeah, his
If
death
you,
was just the worst. I was like,
yeah,
please just kill him.
if you watch the director's cut, it's funny because there's this thing about Tarantino movies that I've noticed where he doesn't like to do director's commentary for movies he's directed, but he'll do commentary for movies he wrote for. And when it gets to the scene where it's Scott's death, he's busting out laughing, like he is crying laughing, and he's like, every other director's too scared to show kids dying, and we fucking blew him up. He's so proud. I still don't really understand why he explodes, to be honest.
Yeah, I just assumed it was like vampire fuckery. I don't know. I was like, I've already accepted so much of the movie.
Oh my gosh, this whole movie is just like after about an hour, it starts to make fun of itself. Like it's so
Yeah.
self-reflexive.
It felt very like, I don't know, cheeky.
Yeah.
Like that
Like,
whole part where they're just over explaining like what beats vampires. It just felt like
Yeah.
a wink.
They're like, what kills vampires? Silver? And Scott's like, oh no, that's werewolves. But
Yeah.
I remember something having to do with silver. And Kate's like, oh, well, does anyone have silver? No? Then let's just move on.
Yeah, they're clearing up all the misconceptions, whipping out the guide.
Which is like they're talking about like this isn't a fucking movie. And then Kate finds a crossbow in a little coffin-shaped case.
Yeah.
What was your
I was
favorite part,
wondering
David?
my favorite part, I guess like just like when they first go into that like, titty twister bar, like
Yeah.
how it was like setting the stage, I guess, just because it was like so grandiose. It was like a theme park for like scummy trucker like
Mhm.
bars, like
It was classic Robert Rodriguez imagery.
yeah, like when you go in and then like that band pre-vampires just like good playing. I was like, dang, like okay, like I mean, like it was so sleazy and gross, but it was like
Mhm.
the most sleaziest, grossest thing I've like ever seen in like a bar. That's like, I don't know, I feel like that could be in Universal Studios.
Yeah. What's really funny is that Danny Trejo's character like tries to give them out. You're not allowed here. We only take buckers and sorry. Bikers and truckers. Like he's trying to tell them like you should probably fucking leave, but no, they're insistent. So I mean,
Yeah, I like how Jacob whipped out. He's like, I have to drive this vehicle. That makes me a truck driver.
Did the reveal at the
wow.
end when Kate's driving away of the other side of the bar is so fucking good. Like I wish I had that as a poster where
The
you see
Mayan
all the
temple?
trucks. Yeah, you see all the
Mm.
trucks like obscuring the
Like a
view, and then
junkyard?
the other side. Yeah, it's like the Aztec
Aztec
or Mayan
junkyard.
temple. Yeah, of all the trucks that they've
Cool.
robbed and shit. It's so good.
I almost wish we saw some of that in the movie.
I think that's in the
Cool.
TV show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've heard that they go more into.
Yeah, because I'm like wondering, like Mayan vampires. You know, where's the connect there?
I mean, they
There's
were
something
into
there
blood
I want to see.
sacrifices, and the sun being like a god. So I mean, I can see the
You're
connection.
talking
Maybe,
some
yeah.
Huichtli type
I mean,
stuff.
the closest thing to it hinting that it was a temple before the reveal was the tunnel they go into, like the gun room where all the weapons are and stuff, and all the stolen loot.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's like a slight aesthetic that's kind of in the bar, but I definitely would have never thought there was like an actual.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking crazy. I love it though. The practical effects, we need to talk about that for sure.
Oh, that was great.
Man, Tom Savini is a master. Every movie that he does practical effects.
Oh, he
in,
did the
like, blows me
practical
away.
effects for this movie too.
Yeah. He seems to really like to put his biker character into every movie that he does practical effects for.
Yeah, I mean, did they ever explain how he just had a gun for a penis? Was that ever touched on?
The cock gun is so good, and he only uses it once.
I like when he flexes it first. He's like, you don't want none of this.
Yeah, he takes that guy's beer and he pulls a knife on him and takes the crotch gun out.
He doesn't just take it; he uses a lasso to
His whip.
to his whip. Yeah, to just take it from his hands. Like, what an asshole! Like,
Yeah.
I paid for that beer.
It's funny because the gun doesn't even make sense. Like it's got revolver barrels, but none of the bullets actually lead up into the
It's
barrel.
the barrel.
That's
Yeah.
true, actually.
And it's funny. I've seen people ask Tom Savini about it. They're like, about that gun. Like, how is it supposed to work? And he's like, it wouldn't work. Like, it was just supposed to look like that.
Just for the looks.
They walk up to Tom Savini and say, "About that cop gun."
Dude, the recoil would hurt like a bitch. Then how do you fire it?
How do you reload it?
I just want to know how to fire it. Like, does he hip thrust?
It's
He
connected
has
to
to
his
spank his
nerves.
butt.
It's connected to his nerves.
Oh
Just
my
squeeze
gosh.
a nipple.
But yeah, the effects on the vampires, like the CGI for their transformation doesn't hold up really that well. But like once they've become vampires and they're running around with the makeup and everything, it's so good.
Yeah, like I don't know. They were like when the bats turned into vampires because they were like different looking. They weren't like bar patrons. They were just like naked, fleshy ones at that point.
Yeah.
I thought like that makeup looked really good.
Right. The difference between the bar vampires and the vampires that came in was interesting because you could see the vampires that had like just turned still had some of their physical characteristics, but the ones that could turn into bats like had clearly been vampires for a long time.
Yeah, there's a little bit of lore there.
I love that Frost hit when he became a vampire. He was too badass to be affected by the cross. Like he puts the cross up and he's like, "Fuck, get that shit out of my face." And then, oh my god, the Tom Savini's transformation after his head gets destroyed into a fucking like giant rat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was
I forgot about that part, and I mean, it shocked me all over again.
honestly that was the part where I was like, these effects are pretty good.
Yeah.
That rat
yeah.
looks like
Looked ugly.
solid. That's one ugly rat.
It's funny. Apparently something else from the commentary. They originally had red blood for the vampires, but because they would have gotten what's the not rated, I think, or whatever the worst rating is, they would have gotten. I think it was an X rating actually. He said they wouldn't allow us to show it, so we had to change it to green, and all of a sudden it was okay.
Yeah, it looked like antifreeze.
Yeah. Which I mean, Tom Savini's done that before. I always forget which one it is, but the mall movie. I think it's Day of the Dead. Oh no.
Is that Dawn of the Dead?
It might be Dawn of the Dead. Let me make sure.
Oh, you know what I was gonna say? When I was watching this, it
No,
reminded
not
me a
Dawn.
lot of Shaun of the Dead, a lot. And what kind of confirms this, or not confirms it, but basically the director, Edward Wright, posted a picture of the new Spider-Man movie. And it's in the movie it shows a poster that says "From Dusk till Dead," or "Dusk of the Dead." So I'm wondering if Edward Wright got like inspiration from Dusk Till Dawn to make Shaun of the Dead. I don't know. It's something I actually happened to see today, which was kind of interesting.
That is
even know.
interesting.
I haven't seen Shaun of the Dead.
Really?
I mean, I've seen like parts of Comedy Central, but
You
not
need to
like
watch that.
Yeah,
fully.
it's pretty funny.
I'll get to it. I always see it referenced on every.
But, oh yeah, so it was Dawn of the Dead. The blood from the people and the zombies in Dawn of the Dead is it's not really as red as you'd think. It's really pink, and apparently that's because they were trying to avoid like getting a really really bad rating for the film. So they do this a lot, which is I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, like I thought, like just outside of like doing it for the rating, I thought the green was almost aesthetic choice because it almost hammered home that these things aren't human.
Right. There is that scene where after Richard has stabbed Razor Charlie over and over again. He has a knife in the table, and they look over at it, and the blood is. That scene is part of it, I guess. I don't really know. Besides that, like what made the blood important.
Yeah, I mean, like David said, it gives it more of a else being type of deal, non-human like. Adds, I guess, to the monster effect. Some of the vampires were really hairy, especially the ones that weren't the biker vampires. They had a lot of hair.
Start GoFundMe for some razors.
I just want to know why the fuck Sex Machine turned into a rat. Like,
Yeah, what
it's-
about him
I
was
don't
like
even know. I mean,
was he like an
maybe
even
just to
worse
add to the already weird creatures that we got.
I don't know. I love the scene where Frost just fucking pulls the heart out of one of the vampires, like
Oh, yeah.
no problem, and then it's still alive. So like they knock it down, and Sex Machine picks up a pencil that I guess somebody was using to write with and stabs the heart
And then it kills
outside
him.
of its body, and it
Yeah.
dies. Yeah. The-
Bro,
Yeah,
when
the pencil
Frost
bit
did
was pretty
that,
funny.
when Frost did that, it just seemed like he's done that before. Like it was just something like he does all the time. I was like,
I mean,
what are
Fred
you doing?
Williamson definitely like a lot of movies where there's just ridiculous violence like that.
Yeah, and then when he explains that he's like a Vietnam, he probably did that to some Viet Cong. At
Yeah,
some
this
point.
he's like, my bayonet is dripping with yellow flesh.
All right. I was like, why is everybody in like a screenplay by Quentin Tarantino so politically correct?
Yeah, when Seth first runs in on Jacob and Scott in the room, he's like, put the Jap over there on the bed, and then he's
Yeah.
like, what are you, two fags or something? And he's like, no, he's my son. And he's like, how's that? How'd you get a Japanese kid or something like that? Why does he look Japanese? He doesn't look
He
Japanese.
looks
He's
Chinese.
Chinese.
I
And
like
he's
that
like,
bit of dialogue.
doesn't he say something like same thing or something around that, or he implies something around that? I believe.
I think he had like a oh like but kind
Like,
of
oh, well, that makes it better, or something like that.
yeah, something like that.
Um,
Oh, what do you guys think of Kate? Because Loki, I didn't really like her character.
She's interesting.
Yeah, like
I don't know.
I mean,
She
I guess
seems
she knew the
like-
situation she was in, so she had to go along with it. And I guess being the daughter of, I guess just being the daughter, she saw that she had to comply and just go with the flow to survive, I guess.
She seemed to me like she was the least religious out of all of them.
Hmm.
Like in that family at least, because like she's asking him about his religion. She's concerned that he's not a believer anymore, but she doesn't seem to be much of a believer herself. Like she's got a cross, but besides that, like she seems to be the one that's most willing to go along with everything that's happening.
Yeah, she started
Like
taking
she-
those shots like it was nothing. The dad was like,
Yeah.
"You need to stop," and she just kept on hammering him.
Yeah, she seemed to have like a weird like sexual connection with Seth, and it wasn't really like it wasn't both ways. Like Seth didn't seem to feel that way about her. Like especially when they were in the bathroom and he knocks out the brother, she's kind of looking at him.
Like, oh god, I don't know. I feel like there's just this weird like focus on her sometimes. So I was just kind of like, I don't know, like weird.
Mm. I think it was this movie is interesting because it parodies a lot of horror / vampire movies, and a big trope of horror movies is like the last girl, like the virgin is the one that like gets out alive or whatever. So she's like supposed to be like a Christian good girl, and she survives at the end, but she asks to leave with Seth, and he's like, no, like that's not a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Overall, I just wasn't really feeling her character, but I love the dad. Jacob, what
Yeah.
y'all think about him?
Jacob is a great character. Harvey Keitel's great in everything.
What's that actor been in?
I know him from Scorsese movies because
Um,
Scorsese made him famous.
it says here, Reservoir Dogs, Bad Lieutenant,
Oh yeah, he wasn't. He was like the
Grand
the high
Budapest,
actor
Pulp
in that
Fiction. So
movie.
yeah, I mean, he's been in Quentin's movies.
Yeah.
'Cause he seemed familiar. I almost thought he was Bryan Cranston.
It was
And I
the
was like,
RV. The
Yeah, I
RV
just kept
cut.
on. Just replace Kate with that other guy.
I thought Scott's character was the most boring character in the whole movie.
Yeah, I mean,
He like stumbles through all of his lines and barely says anything. The only
I thought
thing,
it was-
the only like scene that I love about Scott other than his death was like when he's sitting in the bar and he's just staring at the tits of like all of the strippers and he's loving it.
Yeah, he's having the greatest time.
I think I really like the scene where it's like, Paul, you ain't religious no more. Like he was like,
Yeah.
He was in disbelief.
yeah, I was like, man.
Yeah. Like he the most lines I feel like he stop at, and he's trying to convince his dad to tell the cops that they're in the bathroom. Like that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
There was no real depth to his character.
he definitely did deserve what he got.
That was just Quentin Tarantino being an asshole. Man.
I want to mention how Juliette Lewis's character had unlimited bows on her crossbow.
Well, no, she ran out.
She eventually did, but up until then, she's just like, she has 4 or 5 on her thing, and she's just like launching those things.
Well,
And-
she had a clip full actually. It was one of those loading 6 in the in like the chamber.
Oh, you know what?
And then
Now that I see
4
an
on the
image here,
sides.
she has 4 around her waist, or 2 around her waist. I guess
Oh, I
that
didn't
makes
even
sense a little bit. But even when is
She still fires way too many, but this movie does do a of like counting bullets because the scene where they just light up the man, Cheech Marin's second character, and then she goes to shoot Salma Hayek, he has no bullets.
Oh, that's true. He did have no bullets, and he was. What even happened after that scene? I don't even remember.
I mean, his brother dies, and all the vampires go nuts.
When Richard came back, I thought he was gonna stay on the crew as like their connection to the vampire powers, but they just killed him again.
Well, that's what his character needed, is because his character was already a psycho in life. Like as a vampire, he'd have been way worse.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a quick turnaround. I thought George Clooney was gonna really like want to keep him alive, and then he's like, "No, I want to do it." I guess that adds a little
Yeah.
bit to his character of him wanting to be the one that kills him, but it just made it seem like he was gonna keep him around.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
it was more of guilt of like he turned him into this monster because it sounds like Richard wasn't like a killer before breaking him out of jail. I mean, he was a sex offender. We'll say that. Like there were hints that he was a sex offender before the bank robbery, but it sounds like he felt guilty for pulling him into like the killer role, I guess.
Did they say he was wanted for murder before the bank heist or after the bank heist?
I don't know if they said that he had been convicted of murder beforehand. They said that he was a registered
Sex offender. Mm-hmm.
and that they were looking for him because of
Bank
breaking him
robbery.
out of jail or
Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah, they broke him out of jail and then they robbed the bank.
Right.
Because I can't remember if he had already like had that. If like it was just after that he killed people.
I would have
But
liked to
yeah.
see Richard's character be like the quote unquote like boss, I guess, like the last person they had to defeat. I think they would have added a little bit more to the story as far as stakes goes. Because like I was mentioning, like after they defeat all those vampires the first time and then they get the second wave, to me it got a little bit too long and kind of tiring almost. Like, like I was already surprised by the practical effects and then it kind of just feels dragged out.
Yeah, like when they killed Salma Hayek's character, I was kind of surprised because I thought she was gonna be like the main villainess of the thing, and then when they brought back Richard, I thought he was gonna be the main villain. And then I guess like the main villains were Frost and Sex Machine in the end.
Yeah, and I guess Harvey. I mean, Jacob, because Jacob bites his son.
Oh, that's true.
Thought
Yeah.
it's too fucking stupid to shoot him.
God damn you, Scott! You could have saved him.
Yep.
Yeah,
Scott with his fucking
I
middle.
was kind of glad they killed Richard just because I was like, don't keep him out. Like I was kind of on the side of kill Richard.
Richard looked like a fucking like a Frankenstein monster.
Yeah, Richard looked like Dwight from The Office. He
Yeah.
looked like a deformed Rainn Wilson.
Which I appreciated because Quentin Tarantino kind of a weird face.
Yeah.
So putting makeup on him, I think my favorite vampire transformation, like as far as makeup goes, was Danny Trejo's. He looked like a bat to me.
Yeah, I think his straight up did look like a bat. Mine was probably Frost, just because
His was the
like,
ugliest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's so
what was
ugly.
that?
Like he was so
like his
uniquely ugly.
his face got wider.
I thought it
Yeah.
got longer. Like his eyes were higher up.
He almost looked like the
Like-
Predator,
Yeah, he did.
which was weird because he still just had like the normal mouth, but the way it was
Mm.
like dented.
Yeah, and it was interesting seeing all the vampires that came in at the end, because like just looking at them, they all looked really similar, but when you take a close look at their faces, they're actually really unique. Like you can tell that they're different people.
Yeah, like I feel like I kind of noticed that maybe not like, in an analytical perspective, but just like these felt like actual monsters, like
Yeah.
with like identities of their own.
I mean, I guess the most unique ones, obviously, at least to me, is Sex Machines, turning into like that rat thing.
Tom Savini loves doing that shit himself. Like
That's why I was just let's just do it.
he replaced his signature machete for a whip in this one.
Like they made Salma Hayek's character seem more like OP and invincible, but like she just gets killed off. Like it was
Yeah, it
no.
was like
Killing her was less difficult than killing like the rest of the horde of vampires.
yeah. If there's one change I'd make, it'd be to make Salma Hayek's character kind of like the main villain.
Right.
Like
At
it
least
would've-
that's just me.
Like I could have seen it played out like a video game mission where like you get introduced to the main villain, but then they hide away and like the wave of minions attack you, and then she comes back out.
Yeah, that's what I
Even-
thought was gonna happen. Like I thought when all the vampires came out, she was gonna like fly away, and then like they'd fight all the other vampires. But
Even a scene where she was like controlling the vampire would have been a nice addition.
yeah, like
Just standing up on stage, like going, "Get them!"
Because it's so weird to build her up as like the main attraction, for her to just like go away so fast.
Yeah.
yeah, she was just written in there so that way Quentin Tarantino could suck her toe.
Probably.
Some of the vampires that were even stood out to me, like the one where they stab his heart with a pencil. He's walking through and he's just snapping like random people's necks.
Oh yeah, that's pretty comedic.
which made me laugh because I was like, those people wouldn't have turned. Like Sex Machine's just going around stabbing dead bodies at that point.
Yeah, no, like what I liked about that scene was like I thought by that point there was just them four left, but then you see this random guy also survive, and he was trying to help them just to get his neck snapped. Like,
Yeah.
Doesn't Sex Machine lasso someone's head off? Like he grabs a hold of their neck and rips it off.
He gets his head lassoed off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think it was it was Seth. Seth takes his whip, and Sex Machine does this little thing where he's like, give it back. Like, give that back to me. You don't know how to use that. And then Seth whips around his neck and pulls his head off.
Oh, there's a scene I really wanted to talk about is when Frost is giving his Vietnam speech. And Frost is looking at the guys, which is Harvey's character and the rest of the guys, and he's telling them his story. So it's Frost in the background. In between is the group of the guys, and then in the foreground it would be Tom Savini's character, Sex Machine, which is head cut off, right? Or transforming.
Right.
What's weird about it is after we see that shot of him talking to them, we then get a close up of Frost, and we see Tom Savini's character come up from behind him.
oh yeah.
So how would they not have seen that? Like,
Well, that's the thing. I
happen?
think that it was supposed to be comical, like at the last half of the movie. Like I'm pretty sure the whole thing is a parody, because he like sneaks up behind him, kind of puts his hands on his shoulders,
Yeah,
and then
it's
Just
on
the
his
way he
shoulders.
elevated them was so like.
like he, like cause he's so surprised of it happening. Like, how did the group not see it happen? It's just so funny.
I think the biggest mistake you can make is like taking this movie way too seriously.
Yeah, it definitely didn't feel like it was taking itself seriously at points.
I mean, the beginning is pretty serious, but the third act is obviously not as serious.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I think towards the end it's just straight up just like schlocky, like kind of fun still.
Let's just spend the rest of our budget.
Yeah. I mean, what I didn't understand is how no one Tom Savini get bit in the first place? Like it was so
Yeah.
quiet. Like
No
you
one was
think you
paying
hear
attention.
someone go like, and like
Well, there's a lot of that. Like when Kate's just standing by the bar, and there's like a vampire with no legs is just crawling. It's making the
Oh,
most noise
yeah.
possible. Like his body's just like pounding against the floor as he's like crawling towards her, and I'm like, nobody notices this guy.
Yeah, like how's like you guys are the only people. No one's making any noise.
Oh man, there's a lot in this film that's just like nutty. Like Kate kills one of the vampires with the around her neck, which like it's like okay, crosses are lethal, but later it's like no, it kind of just pushes it
Right.
away a little bit.
That cross necklace didn't even come into play later. I thought it would.
No,
I
she
think they
lost
used
it,
it
I
once,
guess.
don't they? They do it.
Yeah, she uses it once
Once.
because it was like an accident when that freako like touches her, and I thought she was gonna like whip it and kind of use it as like a brass knuckle.
Yeah.
What happened to it?
I don't remember if she had it at the end of the film because Cheech Marin's character fucking explodes. So I don't know if it like got lost or what.
Man, and then when they all like kind of like meet up, it felt like zombies, like Call of Duty zombies. Like
It
how
was
like
very yeah.
four of them just like teaming up, like their whole
Now
like.
that you talk about Shaun of the Dead and the comparisons, like I can see a lot of it. It was like kind of like them meeting up in the like
bar
at
for
the
the
end
first
when,
time. Yeah.
yeah, when they're like, all right, let's get to the bar, and then when they get like, well, we're fucked.
Yeah, it's I actually had found it here. The poster reads I'll let you know right now. But yeah, like the whole thing and also how extensive they spent in the actual bar itself kind of also reminded me of it cuz just like Shaun of the Dead, once they reach the bar for the rest of the movie, they're in there for the most part.
Yeah,
But
and
yeah,
like some of the characters get gruesomely fucking torn. Like I don't remember what the character's name was, but like his ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend, the guy with the glasses, he gets torn in half, and you just see all of his guts. Like that, that scene could have definitely been in From Dusk Till Dawn, and I wouldn't have even batted an eye.
yeah, the poster in the Spider-Man movie it reads From Dusk Till Shaun. Um so yeah, that kind of like I guess confirmed what I thought the movie reminded me of, but yeah. I guess I mean obviously budget limiting. I think I would have liked this movie to play more on the Mayan temple thing. For example,
Yeah.
instead of them spending the entire horde fight in this one arena, we'll say, kind of them going through the levels of the Mayan temple and then kind of like discovering things as they go. I guess that's kind of asking for a lot for this type of budget, but I think it would have added more to the overall pacing of the second and third act, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it would have been pretty cool too. Like when they were exploring, I guess like the tunnels where they kept all like the stuff they've been stealing. I thought they were gonna go deeper into that too, but then they just went back to the main bar area.
Yeah, and then like they once they just go back out to where they first were fighting, it kind of like I guess got repetitive after seeing it for so long. Because I mean, I want to say the fight lasts for maybe what we'll say maybe 35 minutes, maybe.
Was it
Yeah,
that
like,
long?
I mean, because this movie is what it's an hour and 45 minutes if I'm not wrong.
They get to the bar around an hour mark.
Yeah,
I
so
guess
it's
that's probably
it's
about
it's an
right.
hour 48. So I mean, maybe close to even 40 minutes. I don't know. For me, it got too lengthy and basically I got tired of not tired of it, but I wasn't impressed anymore. I'll say, I guess.
I mean, I didn't really mind that. I liked how it was goddamn vampires, but I do wish they would have explored more of that Mayan temple thing. Like
Yeah,
maybe what I would
exactly.
do is just like kind of get rid more of like of the beginning stuff, honestly, just to get more straight to like the vampire stuff.
I guess we got the TV show for that. Don't watch the sequels. I think if I remember correctly, the sequels bit them. They're horrible.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, what are the sequels like? Like, what did they
Uh,
add?
the second one is another bank robbery, but it's Robert Patrick from Terminator 2, if you remember him.
Hmm.
He was the one that like what's that whatever the Terminator was that could turn into like
T1 Goo.
Yeah, whatever the one that it was trying to chase after him.
Yeah, I
So
get you.
Robert Patrick is in it, and then like one of his crew members is like traveling to meet them in Mexico, and he ends up at the bar and gets bit by I think Danny Trejo.
Oh yeah, Danny Trejo's in that.
It might be a
It's at a
prequel.
9%. Jesus.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's not good.
Man,
Yeah, but yeah,
pray for my
he
boy
gets
Danny
bit,
Trejo.
and then like when he joins them at the bank heist, he has to kind of like deal with the fact that he's a vampire now. I don't know. It's really weird.
I saw that there's a
I
third
don't
one.
even know. The third one is I didn't watch it, but I know it's garbage. Danny Trejo makes another appearance. And so does Michael Parks, the cop that gets shot at the beginning of the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like they keep bringing back like some of the actors that are dead. It's really weird.
They just bring back Scott.
They do that in the TV show too. Apparently, like they have Harvey Keitel in it. He doesn't play like his character.
Scott keeps coming back.
You can't keep Scott down. He's back for the second one. He's back for the third one. He's back.
He didn't die in the explosion. He turned into a bat and away.
The faith runs deep in Scott's soul.
Had he lived, he would have been a preacher's too.
I remember the first time I watched this, I was hoping that like Jacob's faith made him immune, or like Scott's faith made him immune to the vampire curse, and that he wouldn't transform. I was like, maybe his faith in God is so strong that God literally protects him from the vampirism, but it doesn't. So
Bro, God blew him up.
yeah, the scenes where they blow off half their faces are so good.
Yeah, when Jacob got like, man, the effect for Jacob, his face was melted, was really good.
Yeah. The amount of explosions in this film is
Yeah, a lot of pyrotechnics happening.
a lot of like just fake body parts too after the initial fight. Like when Seth goes to his brother Richard's body, he has to like throw a torso out of the way.
Yeah, that felt like almost like a Red Dead for Redemption shootout. Like when there's just all these bodies piled up, you just have to move to get to the one you want.
Yeah, and then when Richard melts for some reason because they're holding his arm melt, so they're just holding on to what's left of it. They just throw him away.
Yeah, that gooey green arm, just like.
Yeah, that's what disgusts them. They're like, ew, gross arms, but they're like throwing shit around all of them.
That guy had just like pulled someone's heart out of.
Yeah.
What arms is where he's like, nah, like that's kind of gross.
I think Tom Savini's character, or no, it was Razor Charlie. Razor Charlie pulls like the of a biker off of the fucking guy, and I thought he was gonna start swinging with it, but he didn't, and I was so disappointed.
Wait, who's Razor Charlie?
It was Danny Trejo's character. It was right before Tom Sex Machine kills him because he throws him like the pool stick, kind of like in a movie where it was gonna be a fair fight, but Razor's like, why the fuck did you throw this to me? And then Tom beats him with the whip. He kind of like pulls him down and then stakes him.
Yeah.
When Seth's character was building that kind of wooden gun,
the jackhammer.
The jackhammer.
It was a jackhammer with a stake on the end.
I thought at first it's gonna be like very unproductive and like useless because like
it can
only go so fast.
Yeah.
But it plays like a video game where like he stabs a zombie and they kind of wait around for the next zombie.
Yeah, like he kills like 4 things with it, honestly, and then it runs out of gas. I'm like, what did you expect? Like it's been in forever.
Yeah, like I don't know, you could just keep a like stake to like a pole or something and just stab. Yeah.
And I like when on the bullets he like puts little crosses on the end.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. And then Big Boy Scott had like that water gun with blessed water now. It was blessed.
Yeah. There's little things about this movie that make me laugh. Like just the initial when they get to the motel the first time and he's ringing the shit out of that bell. And then the guy comes out and he's like, "What the fuck do you want?"
Oh yeah.
And he's like, "What the fuck do you think I want? I want a fucking room, you old asshole." And he's like,
like,
"Oh, okay."
oh.
You should have just said so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, when they first get to the what was the bar's name again? When they first get to
Titty Twister.
Titty Twister, the guy at the entrance, he's like auctioning like what they have at the bar.
Oh
Here's
yeah,
one
Jesus.
thing.
It's like
He
damn.
says one thing.
It's like all right.
Yeah. I like when he was like,
Yeah, he was like, we got sloppy pussy, we got hairy pussy, we got dirty pussy, we got smelly pussy,
and
And
he
then
kept going.
when he said if you find something less cheaper than a cent, fuck it, I fucking lost it. I was so done. I was like, that's such a good line, dude.
that was pretty good. I mean, talking about smelly pussy, like when they walked into that bar, I thought that place smelled like I could imagine myself being must be so humid and smelly. And
Yeah, all the dancers are sweating and no
like,
clothes.
Like what like just so humid.
Everyone's kind of seems okay with Seth pushing them around too. Like he tells Razor to get away, and he like pushes the guy out of the chair, and he doesn't even fight back.
Yeah, for real. Like how did just I didn't think that was gonna come back to bite them in the butt when they like beat up that pussy promoter.
I still don't understand
Yeah.
why. Like he was annoyed, beat the shit out of him for no reason, and then Richard comes back and kicks him while.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, sure, like maybe you don't want to see you selling, you don't gotta do it. To him.
Yeah, I was gonna
That's
say the
pretty much
exact
every
same.
character
Like
Cheech plays.
it's like why why they even like beat him up in the first place?
I mean,
Yeah.
his character's name is Chet Pussy, so I mean,
And then
I don't know.
Yeah.
He always plays like a character that gets beat up on. Like even in Spy Kids, like he helps the Spy Kids, and they're like, "Thanks, Uncle," and he's like, "I'm not your fucking uncle." they throughout the whole movie.
word for word.
Yeah,
That's what he says to Judy. I'm not your fucking
I'm not your uncle. I think he ends up being like a
Well,
bad
you're
guy
uncle.
too, if I remember right. It's been so long.
Yeah,
I
do
need to
not
watch Spy
remember that.
Kids. That should
I
be the
remember
next
Spy
movie.
Kids 3D the most out of everything.
I was just gonna say that. I remember
No,
going to see
literally,
Somebody
yeah.
ring the dingster.
Yeah.
and that's when they had
Dude,
the
Steve Buscemi is so good in that movie.
the red and blue glasses, old school.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, those things gave me a headache, dude. My brother's
Yeah.
colorblind, and we didn't know at that point, so he was like, "It doesn't work. Like, I don't see anything."
It's in 2D.
I sing in 1D.
Do you think that God stays in heaven because he too fears what he's created? Spy Kids 3D is a fucking classic.
Dude,
don't
he
at
lost
me.
his video game waifu.
Oh, yeah.
That reveal made my heart sink. I was like,
Oh my gosh. Dude, there's such heavy advertising in that movie. When they're in the submarine and they have like this fucking sick ass microwave that just pops out Burger King food.
Was
Like-
it Burger King or McDonald's?
It was Burger King, I thought. No, it was Burger King because they pop out a Whopper. I remember specifically because I was like, fuck, if I had a microwave where I could just throw like a little popcorn bag in and pop out like a Whopper meal, like,
Spy Kids 3 is legendary.
yeah.
Spy Kids 3 is the GOAT.
I forgot.
The movie, it starts off with Junie's emo as fuck. He's like a noir private detective that's and there's this girl that hires him to find out why the water in her water park has stopped, and he's like, "It's winter, you fucking idiot. The actual owner shut the water off." And then she pays him.
Steve Buscemi's in this.
Yeah,
Oh
Steve
my
Buscemi is the
God.
scientist who created all of the monsters on the island.
Yeah, he was in the second one.
I gotta
Next
go back.
episode, we're doing Spy Kids 3.
We need to do Spy
Okay,
Kids.
what
We're clearly enthusiastic.
we'll do Spy Kids 3.
Spy Kids 1 and Spy Kids 3 are great. I don't remember Spy Kids 2 at all.
I only
Spy
remember that
Kids
one quote
3.
you said from Spy Kids 2.
Don't they go to
That's
the
Spy
water
Kids 3.
park? Oh god, this is gonna be interesting.
No, that quote I said is Steve Buscemi's line in Spy Kids 3 because he's talking about how he's created like the animals that have gone rampant on the island.
Yeah, doesn't he say that in Spy Kids 2?
No, that's Spy Kids 3.
I
He
forgot
says it in Spy
Elijah
Kids
Woods
3?
in this.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
yeah.
No. Spy Kids 2. I don't know why I got confused.
Yeah, because
Oh,
Spy Kids 2 the
Spy
one
Kids
where he's
2
on
is
the
Lost
island.
is Lost Paradise, and Spy Kids 3 is the Game Master.
Yeah,
With,
because Spy Kids 3, he still shows up. I don't think he gives him that spiel.
yeah, no. Spy Kids
Yeah.
2 is great. That one's my favorite. Spy Kids 3 2. It's got Elijah Wood for like 2 seconds.
which one do y'all want to do? 1, 2, or 3?
All of them.
I stand 3.
Oh God, I'm gonna do a
I'll do 2
Spy
and 3.
Kids marathon.
Don't watch Spy Kids 4. It's fucking garbage.
There's this 4?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's different kids, but
oh.
Junie and Carmen are in it.
Wait, let me see this.
It's not good. It's got Joel McHale.
They had kids. Did Oh wait, is that? Oh no, Jessica Alba's in this.
It's like Carmen is their aunt or some shit. I don't know. It makes no sense.
What you're saying makes me want to watch Spy
Kids
4.
Don't watch it. Don't watch it.
Don't even
It's
get me
so
started with Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
Oh,
Dude,
I love Shark Boy and Lava Girl. Low key, like I fucking love that.
I meme it. I meme it pretty hard, dude. I'm on
Close
that
your
line.
eyes, shut your mouth,
That
dream
is-
a dream, dream dream. I quote that movie all the time. Me and my brother, we get pissed. We'll just be like, "He ruined my dream journal." Send him to the principal's office and
Oh.
have him expelled.
God, I just found a.
That movie's so good. All right, we need to
Robert
wrap this
Rodriguez
up.
also directed.
All right,
think
we'll
so.
do 3 for sure. We'll do Spy Kids 3 for sure.
I'm
We
gonna
have
throw
to
in
do
Shark Boy
3.
and Lava Girl, just
All
involuntarily.
It'll just happen
we didn't talk about that, but Spy Kids 3, that'd be sad.
naturally.
All right, final thoughts on this movie. It's amazing. You need to... Don't take it too seriously. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, I think the beginning's a little kind of, at least for me, it was kind of slow, but once you like get to the end, it turns out like it was worth watching, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun watch. It's not going to be as serious as it starts off. It's like Chandler said, nothing to take too serious. The practical effects, obviously, on this is something to appreciate for the time. But yeah, it's a cool movie. It's on Netflix if you want to watch it. I guess before we go, I want to quickly say who the cast was, and I'm just gonna edit it at the intro. But this
You
movie
kind of said it throughout the.
I was gonna shout out our social medias, but I know David doesn't really have a social
Wait,
media.
I can pull him out.
All right. What's what can they find you, David?
I'll do my Twitter handle.
Okay.
It's
I didn't even know you had a Twitter,
I had a
Me
Twitter. I
neither.
just don't use it. I only have like 20 followers.
bro. I've got 5 followers, and I use my.
All right, it's Rainy Godriguez.
Whoa.
Wait, for real?
No, yeah, it's Rainy Godriguez. No joke.
Is it Rainy with an I or a Y?
With an I.
That's what I thought.
All right, you heard it here, folks.
And
Rainy
you can find me
Rodriguez.
on Instagram, not Halloween Dave.
Did you change?
Oh, well, it says David Galligan for. No, that's a Ukrainian atheist. Sorry, that's the wrong.
Yes. I'm definitely not either of those. Well, maybe the
All
second.
right. All right. You can find them on Twitter or Snapchat.
Yeah, your
Um,
pal Dave.
Oh wait, did you give us our Instagram just now?
Oh yes, not Halloween Dave.
All right, there you
You
go.
can
You
once
have
again be one of the few followers.
you have 3 options, folks. Take it or leave it. Chandler, where can they find you at?
If you're trying to find me on social media, it's at Ctreon, CTREON 17. But if you're trying to find me on Twitch or something, or YouTube, it'd be Red Ascendant.
It's
I think on
copyrighted.
Twitch it's Red Ascendant 1, but I'm not positive.
All right, folks. You can find me primarily on Twitter at Video Josue, Video Josue. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Google Play Music. Thank you for listening.